of our environment and grow with the environment, because this is all we have.
A few park rangers even joined the fun to spread the word about coexisting with wildlife.
There's a lot of coyotes here in the park that, at nighttime they come out when people are asleep, and they don't realize that they have to take care of the little dogs and the little cats and keep them inside their homes, because they could be in a lot of danger.
The kids did some arts and crafts, then they set off on a nature hike. I'm Anita Bennett for LA This Week.
The city's Department of Recreation and Parks sponsored the event along with Council District 4. And in this week's list of things to do, movies under the stars, a classic car show, and Lummis Day. Get ready for a day of family-friendly fun in the park at the Valley Family Festival and Movies Under the Stars, coming up on Saturday, June 2nd at Northridge Park from 3 to 9 p.m. The event is a partnership between the Kiwanis Club of Northridge, Council District 12, and the LA Department of Recreation and Parks. There will be live music and dance performances, vendor booths, food, games, and a free outdoor screening of the animated family film, Puss in Boots. Northridge Park is located at 18300 Lamarche Street in Northridge. You can find this information by going to cd12.lacity.org. The 9th annual Still Saving Lives Car Show and Family Traffic Safety Fair is coming up on Saturday, June 2nd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Warner Center Park in Woodland Hills, located at 5800 Topanga Canyon Boulevard. This annual free event is sponsored by the LAPD Valley Traffic Division and the Valley Traffic Advisory Council. There will be over 300 classics, hot rods, race cars, motorcycles, and other beautiful and rare vehicles, as well as food trucks, games, and vendors. For more information, go to vtac-vtd.org. Music, dance, poetry, and art are featured as the 7th annual Lummis Day Festival presents the best of Northeast LA arts at Heritage Square on Sunday, June 3rd. The free event runs from 10:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. The festival will take place at 2 sites, with morning events including poetry readings and art exhibits at Lummis Home and Garden, located at 200 East Avenue 43. The main stages for Lummis Day performances will take place at Heritage Square Museum at 3800 Homer Street. For a detailed rundown of the day's activities and locations, go to lummisday.org. And remember, you can find this information on our Facebook page. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. Learning about history and culture through art. Students help cap off the city's Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month with entries to the city's poster contest. Gil Reyes shows us.
Out of 700 local entries, this is crowned Best Overall. Congratulations to Sally Na. This 11th grader from North Hollywood High School's Magnet program largely credits her teachers for the win.
This year, my English teacher was actually the one who told our school that this contest was being held again. So she reminded me that I should try it again, and I tried it, and definitely worth it.
Sally's poster of Chinese-American architect I.M. Pei is featured in this gallery of greats. Finalists at the annual Asian Pacific Islander American Heritage Month poster contest.
Do you believe in you?
I believe in me.
Do you believe in you?
I believe in me.
LA Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa encouraged students and also teachers.
Layoffs and cuts and one year after another, and I can tell you that we're so thankful for the dedicated teachers.
Sally brought along her counselor, who says teachers must stay strong during these tough times.
For the students, because we have wonderful kids, and they have such bright futures.
Other first place winners include Hancock Park Elementary School's Raquel Luna, Wilton Place Elementary School's Hannah Choi, John Barrett Heppel, who is homeschooled, St. Joseph the Worker 7th grader Renzel Navarro, and Crescenta Valley 10th grader Sharon Lee. All first place winners will receive baskets filled with books to be donated to their school's libraries. At the LA Zoo, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
For Best in Show, Sally Na received a $300 Wells Fargo Bank savings bond that she's planning to reserve for college. And that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Need a recycling center? Call 311, the toll-free number for non-emergency services. 311, your one call to City Hall.
My name is Eric.
My name is May.
We are in Chinatown.
You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Sergeants, please call the members and tell them to report to the council chambers. I do want to acknowledge the members of the On-Time Caucus that are here today, Mr. Garcetti, Mr. Weezar, Mr. Lamar. Good morning. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council meeting. The council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m., and the public is welcome. You can come down, watch your city government in work, or come down to testify on an item or to give general public comment. Madam Clerk, I believe we have a quorum. Could you call the roll to confirm that?
Alarcon, Buscaino, Cardenas, Englander, Garcetti, Weezer, Caress, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Zion, Weston. Timmer is present in a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Parks moves, Mr. Labange seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Garcetti moves, Mr. Rosendahl seconds.
Mr. President, today is Tuesday, and now would be the time for the flag salute.
If I could ask everyone to please rise for our flag salute, led by Joe Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please place your right hand over your heart, eyes on the flag, ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino. Madam Clerk, at this time, I'm going to request that members pay attention to the agenda. We're going to begin running through the agenda. Madam Clerk, could we go through the first set of items?
Item 1 is a building and safety liens notice for public hearing. The department reports that items 1, G, and K may be received and filed inasmuch as the lien has been paid.
Okay, without objection.
Also, there is a request to continue item 1L to June 12th and items 1I and J to July 31st.
Without objection.
There are cards on items 1, 1E, and 1H.
Okay. On the remaining items, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, can we move now to the next section? I think that's items 2 through 7.
Yes, items 2 through 7 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Specials. Ms. Perry calls 7 special. Members, any other specials? Okay, let's prepare to vote on this. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, our next section, Madam Clerk.
Items 8 through 20 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
Okay, without objection, those items are now before us. Any cards?
There are cards on items 8, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18, and 20.
Members, specials. Okay, no specials for the members.
Excuse me, Mr. President. There's a request by member to continue item 13 to June 5th.
Okay, without objection, we will continue item 13. On the remaining items, let us open the roll. Mr. Koretz?
I'm not on the board, so
Okay.
I wanted to be recorded.
Mr. Koretz is here and wants to be. It is very important to him that he's on this vote. So I want us to pause for a moment, allow the city clerk's office to do that voodoo that they do so well. So now that that's done, on the remaining items, let us open the roll. Mr. Zine?
Consider 6 to discuss it, please.
Okay, when we finish this. So let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, on item 6, Mr. Zine has
reconsider, please.
Has requested reconsideration. So let's,
And then call a special.
we have to vote on reconsideration, so let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, now let's go back to the next section. Or is it just item 21?
Yes, item 21 is a closed session item. Do you wish to hold it on the desk?
At this point, we will hold it on the desk. That should take us, Madam Clerk, to item 22.
Yes, on the supplemental agenda, item 22 is an item for which a public hearing has been held.
Specials members. Okay, on item 22, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
The last section.
Items 23 and 24 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
Without objection. Are there cards? Are there cards on item?
Yes, cards on item 23, and I believe an amending motion is circulating for item 24.
Okay, so we'll hold both of them. So that brings us where?
To general public comment or items called special or presentations.
I think we'll start out. We'll take a couple of general public comment cards. So let's have Arnold Sachs, Sean Murphy, and then we'll go to the Valley. So if I could get, and Mr. Murphy, you're here, you can go first. Mr. Arnold Sachs. Hold on one second. Mr. Koretz.
Mr. President, if we could reconsider item 1F and continue it for 1 week.
Nah. Okay, we have to vote for reconsideration on item 1F. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
And you wanted to continue it until when, Mr. Koretz?
If we could continue that for 1 week, that would be great.
And that date would be, Madam Clerk?
June 5th.
Okay. Consider that continued. Mr. Murphy, followed by Arnold Sachs.
Yes, good morning, Mr. President, City Council. I went to the Canoga Park Memorial Day Parade. I enjoyed myself yesterday, and Brad Sherman was in the parade. He was in a car, good classic car. That's it.
Okay, Mr. Sachs. They're being very orderly, so you can proceed.
You want to introduce?
No, go ahead. They're being very orderly.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Arnold Sachs. Thanks. I don't recall who mentioned that they want to continue item 13, which was the item on your agenda regarding the budgets, because I was going to talk on that, and now that it's off the agenda, I can talk on it again in public comment. And I'm wondering, based on some of these articles, Audit blasts LA Housing Authority. This is from the Daily Breeze, December 14, 2011. Audit, this is from 3/30/2012. $7 million in LA gasoline bill unaccounted for. Audit, city agencies ignore audits, waste money. This is from 11/9/11. That the auditor's department did. Overall, 24 grades of 0 were issued to city agencies, and 38 grades of 100% were issued. The mayor's office was given 9 grades of 0% and 3 grades of 100 or 99%, whatever the grades mean. But you're just going to file, you were just planning on filing these reports that you got on regarding the audits and not really taking any action. So my question would be, if the audits are showing up like $7 million in gasoline bills unaccounted for, and the housing authority being audited for unexplained expenses, and all these poor grades given out to all these different departments, how can you sit and file a report without taking any action? I know for a fact, because it was taken care of in City Council, that you're taking $21,000 by eliminating the broadcasting of the airing of the meetings in Van Nuys and in San Pedro. But what wasn't really said was that $21,000 per meeting? Is that $21,000 per month? Is that $21,000 per year? Because it does make a difference. If it's $21,000 per year and you're talking about 120 meetings, that's chump change. Thank you, chump.
Thank you. So now if we could go to the Valley to hear Donna Pearman and Sharon Brewer. Ms. Pearman?
Yeah, I'm here. Yes, we have to, as it says, it's $21,000 for the whole year. I mean, let me tell you that it's very difficult for anyone to be able to get to over there in Spring Street. I know when I used to have to take mass transit to go there. I want to know for you to realize how much it takes. You have to take one bus to go all the way down to where the subways to take the Orange Line or a regular bus all the way down over there to where the regular bus was, which takes about an hour, anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour to be able to take it all the way over there to where North Hollywood Station, where the subway is. Then you got to go all the way downstairs and then take the subway, which takes another half hour or 45 minutes over there to go all the way downtown. And then once you go downtown, you have to, or I know where it is, go from Pershing Square. And I have to walk 4 blocks going on, down 4 blocks one way, and then another 3 or 4 blocks going the other way. By the time you get over there, you're exhausted. So this is not really accessible for the handicapped to be able to get down there. Then if people are driving there, it's almost impossible to be able to get a parking spot over there to go to City Hall, and it's not available how to do it by smartphone. So, there's a lot of areas where you can cut back, that you don't have to cut back on the Valley. It shows that you don't care about the Valley. I don't even believe you're going to even be down here on Friday on the Valley. You're probably going to skip us again. So that's not a good enough area. People, they're taking away the First Amendment rights, and you're taking away the disability rights.
Thank you, Ms. Pearman. Is Ms. Brewer there?
Morning, Sharon Brewer, public comment. I wanted to address the CAO memo 132, which has to do with taking and the costs for the remote public testimony for Van Nuys and San Pedro. Again, I'm talking about Van Nuys City Hall, and you are only talking about $19 per hour for 4 hours times 138 council meetings annually. That's $10,488. That's $76 a day. Now, I want to give a few numbers with regards to neighborhood councils in the Valley that council members might be wanting to think about, or those running for city offices. You have 34 neighborhood councils in the Valley, approximately 599 board members. Their stakeholders add up to 1,417,117. I think that you really should be looking at what's the best when it comes to the Valley, and also what is possibly the best for those people running in the city offices. I want to thank Council Member Alicon for voting for keeping or against the them cutting the remote public testimony. I also would like to remind the President that when you were last here, I told you about how we didn't get the February 3rd, 2012 meeting because it was Black History Month, and I am concerned that I did hear comments last week about a funeral or something for Friday, June 1st, and whether or not you're going to cut us out again. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Brewer, I have not forgotten our conversation, and I'm of the opinion, and I'll verify it before the day is out, that we will be there. June 8th, I'm told. All right, so going back to, in fact, before we go on with public comment, Mr. City Attorney, what I want to do is, I know that we are holding item 8, but, you know, the budget resolution is still being worked on, so we really wouldn't be in a position to take action on that item today. So let us continue it for 24 hours. If you could make note of that, Madam Clerk, and the City Attorney is shaking his head as if I am doing something right. So let us do that. I'd like to call Mr. John Walsh forward. Without objection. John Walsh, come forward. Armanek Norajanian, Michael Carrion. John Walsh, HollywoodHighland.org. Morning, Mr. Walsh.
Good morning. Every time you say that, I to your campaign. Every time you say that. HollywoodHighlands.org, that's right. Right here. Come to our endorsements. We have our endorsements up now. Tori Osborne for Assembly. No on 28. And, of course, yes on the number 29 on the cancer tax for cigarettes. We'd like to point out that we have asked Willie Brown to debate us, PAP, progressives against perennial politicians. Progressives against perennial politicians. In other words, the media has set it up that term limits, this 28, if you're a liberal, you're in favor of gutting term limits, and if you're a Tea Partier, you're against it. No, no. We come from the left. We are against any messing up of term limits. That's why Willie Brown seems to be afraid of John Walsh. And incidentally, if you pass term limits, Willie Brown will be the gutting of term limits, Proposition 28. He'll be back as Assembly Speaker within 2 years. And again, Tori Osborne, and Expo is dangerous. Remember, it was just John Walsh or Damian Goodman and Fix Expo saying that Expo was dangerous. Now it's in the LA Times. It is very, very dangerous. And I would like to finish by saying what the mayor is attempting to ban me for 60 days from MTA. Well, he has another thing coming. But I'm going to say what I said there, and if you want to have me arrested, and he had 10 cops grab me. And this is what I say about Beverly Hills High School. Jewish children and poison gas don't mix. They do not mix. Mr. Weezer voted for it. You are an anti-Semite. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Armanek Norajanian, followed by Michael Carrion.
Good morning, respectable city council members. Good morning, fellow Angelinos. My name is Armanek Norajanian, and I'm a liberal Democrat and human rights advocate. And as such, I run for the seat of California State Assembly from South Central Los Angeles, from so-called 59th Assembly District. I propose to raise taxes 50% against wealthy individuals and 50% against those gasoline selling corporations and all produce manufacturers that rip off Californian motorists every day. I ask the vast majority of black and Hispanic voters to vote for me as the most progressive and liberal candidate of all. I will actually promise to create new jobs, with government contracts by raising taxes against gasoline selling corporations and redistributing wealth. I also promise to provide 3 months free pregnancy leave to all California women. I propose to raise speed limit on California highways and freeways 20 miles up, and also propose to create a California satellite cell phone service for rural and forested areas, territorial water of California shores. I will also create legislation to control car jams with live satellite surveillance, to disperse those car jams on California highways and freeways. I also propose to make same-sex marriage law of the land. And as 50% of California voters voted against Proposition 19, against legalization of marijuana, I propose to craft, a comprehensive ban against so-called medical marijuana dispensaries that rip off substance abusers every day and make Angelinos homeless and destitute. And also ask city council members to propose to establish a hardcore ban against so-called medical marijuana dispensaries, as they actually rip off Angelinos and make them homeless. And also, majority of California voters rejected legalization of marijuana, rejected Proposition 19. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Michael Carrion.
Good morning. I hear you guys want to cut off the communication to the Valley. Why did you give it to them in the first place? You gave it to San Pedro. You want to take it away? You guys gave us 311. You cut it back. You guys just want to make names for yourself, to put something on there and then take it away. If you want to tighten the budget, Mr. President, make sure the people here get here on time, or take the money out of their pockets. Mr. Koretz walked in late, and then he wanted to get on something? Come on, this isn't a grown man. He should have been here on time. Mr. Zine seems to be talking and talking and talking, can't even whisper. My point being is this is a business that should be run like a business. You start at 10 o'clock, start at 10 o'clock. If you're not here, you get fined. And then you can put that in the budget so you can keep Van Nuys open. Because a council member here, council members don't seem to give a rat's patoot what time they get here. They stroll in when they want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're not even paying attention. Yeah. The cameras should be focused this way during public comment so they can see that Ms. Perry, who's running for mayor, doesn't even listen to what people are saying. And then she comes and wants us to vote for her. I got Mr. Gartetti's attention. My point being, you guys don't pay attention to us.
Michael, direct your comments to the entire council.
I am. I'm telling you that he's paying attention.
No, you're identifying everyone.
I'm identifying one person that's paying attention and one person that's not.
Get back.
Okay.
I know you will.
Give me my few minutes, my few seconds back.
Go on.
My point being this. Gentlemen, get here, young lady, get here on time. Okay, this is not elementary school where the dog eats your homework.
Thank you, Mr. Carrion. Madam Clerk, Mr. Garcetti.
If I may do an introduction, Mr. President?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. I just want to welcome...
In fact, Mr. Garcetti, I want to say one thing before that. As of this point, general public comment is closed. Now back to you, Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I want to welcome, we have a great group of guests here today in our council chambers from Village Glen School. And if they wouldn't mind standing up, we'd love to honor them, and we can get the cameras on them. Channel 35, you can watch yourselves on TV tonight. We want to thank you for coming here. It's a great school that works in the Valley, and we really are pleased to have students and teachers and parents here from a wonderful school, Village Glen School. And I hope that all of us will get to know the school. They have great curriculum dealing with our young folks in the Valley, teaching them basic life skills and social skills and academic skills. And it's a great school, and we want to honor you and welcome you to your City Hall. This is not our City Hall. This is your City Hall, so we hope that if this is the first time you've been here, that you come back here many times, and you're always welcome to speak at the podium if you ever have some things to say to us. That's how our democracy works. So give them a round of applause and welcome our great Village Glen School.
Welcome. Okay, at this time, I'm going to go through the agenda. The next item, Patrice, is which item?
If we start from the beginning, it'd be item 1E.
After that,
1E, 1H. Item 6, call special by Mr. Zine, and item 7, call special by Ms. Perry.
okay, let's go to Councilmember Zine on item 6.
Mr. President, the questions have been answered, and we can move that forward with approval.
Okay, so on that item, members prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Item 16. We'll move to item 16. Madam Clerk, I have a card on item 16. Mr. Sachs. Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, Arnold Sachs. Another newspaper article from the Daily Breeze from April 20th, 2012. Among the changes sought by Attorney General Kamala Harris are hearings for foreclosures in courts. And although on the surface it may sound like a good idea, the fact that counsel doesn't pay attention to the public, maybe you pay attention to what's going on in the state, that the courts in and of themselves are closing down. Courthouses are closing down, courtrooms are closing down. Something about a budget deficit being the cause for shutting courts and courtrooms down. And now the Attorney General wants to put foreclosures in courts. There's a disconnect there. Less courtrooms, more cases, less judges, more cases. You need to reconsider that part of the law and discuss that before you decide you want to rubber stamp this bill.
Thank you. So on this item, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, let's move to item 18. I have 2 cards on that item. If I can ask of HollywoodHighland.org, Mr. John Walsh to come forward, and Armanek Norajanian. Armanek, I'm calling you. Get in the on-deck circle. Again, good morning, Mr. Walsh.
Good morning. It's so pleasant to speak now that Eric Garcetti is not running the meeting. It's just so pleasant. HollywoodHighlands.org. This would require specific businesses and other establishments to post a note concerning slavery and human trafficking. In fact, that isn't a joke. We have slavery and human trafficking going on in nightclubs in Hollywood. Women are given knockout drops, Rohypnol, and they are kidnapped. It has happened. And if you don't believe me, why do you think that the Alcohol and Tobacco Federation came in, ATF came in and raided a number of drug dealers in Hollywood? The ATF is in Hollywood. The federal government is doing a very good job, the FBI and the ATF. This is in the, not in the LA Times. You have to go to the Patch to find that out. 1 minute, HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you. Come on, Mr. Norajanian.
Good morning, City Council members. Good morning, fellow Angelinos. Actually, as a liberal Democrat and human rights advocate, I support very much and endorse this Resolution 18, because this Resolution 18 actually is a useful tool to fight slavery and human trafficking in the city of Los Angeles. Actually, a very good idea on part of the city council members, to adopt this Resolution 18, which is likely, of course, to pass by, unanimously, practically unanimously. And actually, I believe that in the city of Los Angeles, a number of times when actually businesses like suing businesses, we had practically illegal aliens working, in both businesses, and also we had some cases of human trafficking, and slavery, and actually, we actually, hopefully, when we post that information about non-profit organization that provide services supporting elimination of slavery and human trafficking, we actually will be done a step, forward in order to fight with slavery and human trafficking, and will be less chances with slave owners, so-called business owners, will become a slave owner practically. And I've seen a number of times when actually sewing shops being locked up, and there's people working there were illegal aliens. And I believe that federal government should do its fair share, to fight that slavery and human trafficking. And the city of Los Angeles should contribute very much with information notice to fighting against human trafficking and slavery.
Thank you. On this item, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, before I call on Mr. Reyes, I want to do one more quick item. That's item 21. I have one card on 21. Ronald Ziff from the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council. Ronald Ziff.
Thank you. I'm the Land Use Chair for the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council, and I'm just here to tell you that the building under construction is too big and lacks parking. The Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council said this when the building was first proposed. The building has been rejected by its Land Use Committee and the board. The current project was never properly vetted by the zoning administrator, and it violates numerous codes. Our elected representative got this passed on his way out the door and left everyone, you and us, holding the bag. Now the court has ordered you to fix it. You could find another maneuver to force it on an unwilling community, or you could truly fix it by sending it back to the zoning administrator to go through the exact same process that every other project in the city uses. I'm here to urge you to make the process impeccably honest. You've already been to court once. It's not necessary to do it any other way. Send it back to the zoning administrator and let the system work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, Mr. Krikorian or Mr. Koretz, I need some guidance as to how you want us. Now, what we can do, we can hold this on the desk, and you guys let me know how you want to deal with this, because it was a closed session item. Okay, Mr. Reyes. My former neighbor, Bob Gay, is in the audience. Everybody give the young reverend a round of applause.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to invite Sacred Heart of Jesus High School representatives to the podium. Colleagues, on my business card, I have this phrase that says, home of the original suburbs. And the reason why I have that there is because as the city grew back in the turn of the century, it, like any other city, had its first schools, its first parishes. Well, I've been blessed to be able to grow up in Lincoln Heights, in Cypress Park. But in Lincoln Heights, there's a special school called the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And their statement is embrace, empower, and inspire young women to live in faith, truth, and service. I want to thank Sacred Heart High School for being here today, in spite of their challenges in preparing for their upcoming graduation. But today I want to recognize what a true gem They have been in the city of Los Angeles for 105 years. Originally known as Sacred Heart Academy, Sacred High School was one of the first Catholic girls' high schools in the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. In 1907, Sacred Heart Academy began as a boarding and day school with a student body of 27 and the first graduating class of 8 in 1911. And I believe Tom LaBonge's mom went there, I think in the 1920s. All right. So today, the student body is approximately 380 students with a graduating class of approximately 80 to 95. Students successfully complete further studies in community colleges, state and private universities in Los Angeles and across the country. The school continues to offer opportunities for young women to mature in their own faith and is committed to empowering and encouraging them in their search for scholastic excellence and truth, veritas. They offer many scholarships to allow not only the privileged to attend this excellent school. Now, colleagues, I can tell you I have 3 sisters, and I better name them or I'll get in trouble. My sister Irma, Letty, and Gabriela, and my daughter Natalie all graduated from Sacred Heart. As a matter of fact, Susie Muro from my office graduated from Sacred Heart. So I have a tremendous affiliation with this great school. I went to the grammar school. When people say, what school you went? Where did you go? And I go, say Sacred Heart. Well, that's a girls' school. I said, no, I went to the grammar school. Then the high school at Cathedral. But the fact is, they are an amazing presence in the community. Many of the parents are hardworking parents. Many of them are carrying 1 or 2 jobs. Many of them are living the wonderful immigrant experience. It's a very special experience. When you see their sacrifices in supporting their daughters and making sure they have access to higher education. Indeed, this school has been in a place where they have managed to stay open despite the challenges, and they have embarked on a very important effort. And some of you might have read the article in the LA Times where the young ladies have to walk almost a mile to Lincoln Park, and sometimes through some very tough situations, just to be able to practice basketball, just to have gym, just to have physical educational opportunities. They use our Lincoln Heights, Lincoln Park facility. So those of you who are listening out there, I was told 300,000 of you should know that there's a great school that could use your support in building a new gym. They have embarked on this effort. It is a very, very important physical element. I mean, when we look at diabetes in our communities, when we look at obesity, to have the ability to just practice, and they do great. Despite all this, they've got a great volleyball team. They've got a great basketball team. Against all odds, they're still competing. They are proud in their uniforms. It's great to see them continue with their spirit. It takes a real special person to continue in that optimism, and for that, I thank them for their continuous efforts in moving ahead, and despite all odds, are able to reach higher education within the communities of my district. So with me, I want to thank Sister Janice Therese Wellington for joining us this morning, our principal. We have the ambassadors here, Myra Arieta, Olivia Ceja. Myra, where are you? Myra? There she is. Olivia Ceja. Olivia, there you are. Paola Vasquez. Paola. Emily Gomez. And a person who works hard to support the school. He's also a Cathedral Phantom and looking forward to seeing him go to law school. But he has been working with the school administration and resource development, Juan Carlos Montenegro. So with that, sister, would you like to share a few words?
Thank you very much for this opportunity and the honor. My sisters started Sacred Heart High School 106 years coming up ago, and we really have been blessed with incredible young women who have gone on to do so many, many important things for the city of Los Angeles and beyond. I do want to tell you that this year, on Friday, 100% of our senior class will be graduating. 100% of them have been accepted to colleges and university. And for the first time, we have one Gates Millennium Scholar, who will be going on to UCLA, everything paid for through her bachelor's degree. So we're very grateful, especially to my teachers and to our parents who are really hardworking. 98% of our families on financial assistance, and I want to thank so many foundations and our alumni who have really supported us. But also, Councilman Reyes, you have been a tremendous support over all the years. So thank you for all that you do for these young women comets. God bless all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Reyes, before you do that, and again, thank you, sister, for all that you do. Mr. Weezer wanted to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I wanted to thank Mr. Reyes for bringing in this wonderful school that's provided not only the city but this country with great leaders. Today, in today's day and age, we see a lot of our value-based schools, a lot of our Catholic schools struggling financially, and it's important for us to continue to support them as they provide a very important role in our communities. And I wanted to congratulate the young girls for choosing a wonderful school and continuing the tradition that for over 100 years has been there. There's a lot of tradition and history there, and we must continue that. So I want to acknowledge that. And not only that, but when I saw two cathedral boys up there standing up, this Salesian boy here had to stand up and acknowledge as well. And we're rival schools, Cathedral and Salesian. So I want to acknowledge that there's another Salesian alum in the room. But Salesian is only, I think, half the age. We're about 52 years old. And recently we had our own gala to raise funds for financial assistance for the boys that attend there. I would encourage anybody who is watching to find any means to continue to support value-based education. It's important that we teach values and morals in our schools along with academics. That goes a long way in preparing future leaders that have a moral compass and could go on and do great things for not only their community but throughout the world. Congratulations, you girls. Congratulations to the school.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Reyes and sister, you said it. Ed's done a great job for all the schools in his district, and especially you always go back to your neighborhood, which is so important. I'm pleased my mother did graduate like in 1931 from the high school, then went to Mount St. Mary's, graduated from college. So to know the tradition continues, it's very special. And then I also want to sound for the sisters, because the sisters took a little commentary from a place in Italy. God bless Rome. But God bless the sisters of the world. God bless the sisters of the United States. There's nobody better than the nuns who work so hard for the community selflessly. So God bless you, sister.
Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Okay, Mr. Reyes, to close.
Thank you, Council President. With that, I'd like to provide this congratulatory anniversarial certificate in recognition of 105 years of dedication and commitment to the young women of who have graced the halls of Sacred Heart High School in the 1st Council District. Congratulations. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes, for having this presentation today. Madam Clerk, let's move to item 24. I have one card on 24, and that's Mr. Arnold Sachs. If you're here, Mr. Sachs, item 24.
And also an amending motion 24A has been circulated for item 24.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 24, I believe that's dealing with allocating some funding. Oh, tax bonds. So I'm wondering, based on your action you took for responsible banking, does that enter into this bonds that you're willing to sell? And the fact also, it was continued because it wasn't discussed at the last MTA board meeting. They're also issuing bonds. And since the MTA might work along with the city, or the city might work along with the MTA because city council members sit on the board and the mayor sits on the board, do you intend to ask the MTA to also honor a responsible banking ordinance when it comes to issuing bonds that are being put out by that organization.
Thank you. So on that item, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, I believe we can move to item 12. Mr. Walsh, are you still here? John Walsh? Item 12. John Walsh, HollywoodHighland.org.
John Walsh, challenging Willie Brown to a debate on Prop 28. This is item 12, and as you know, this is the list of rent escrow account programs. Now, I haven't had any trouble with my landlord, but the City of Los Angeles does a very good job on wayward landlords. And I would like to congratulate you, and I would like to inform everyone that we have a new post at HollywoodHighlands.org. 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. On this item, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, Madam Clerk, now let's go back to the front of the agenda and deal with the items that are left in item 1. So John Walsh put it, okay, he passes. I've got a Sandra Weiss or Wells, Arnold Sachs, Michael Carrion. Please come forward. Michael, you here? Well, you're closest. Come on. Mr. Carrion.
Thank you. We're talking about building and safety. So you're asking building and safety to continue with the nuisance and abatement laws. Yet in CD 14, we've had a nuisance and abatement for 8 years. Yet nobody's paying attention. So why is it that your nuisance and abatement law is so important that you have to waste everybody's time if you're not going to enforce it? Or you're going to pick and choose what you choose to enforce and what you don't? Oh, it's the city's nuisance and abatement. You own the property. You are the person causing the nuisance. But yet, you fail to get out there and clean up your own mess. It looks pathetic. It's disgusting to walk through CD 14 and see some K-rails blocking the street, weeds 6 to 10 feet tall, and the councilman's office won't do anything about it. Or let me see, he says he's trying his best. Nuisance and abatement should be across the board, evenly enforced for everybody in West LA, in Brentwood, and in East LA. El Sereno and Boyle Heights is no exception from Brentwood. But again, this wouldn't happen in the west side of LA. You guys would be jumping on your toes to clean this mess up. 8 years. Shame on you guys. 8 years. I think there's something going on here. And I'm going to let you know, if I find something wrong here, whosever name is on that paperwork is going to be brought here in public, and I will put it out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, Arnold Sachs, and again I'm looking for, I think it's Sandra Wells. Sandra Wells, are you here? Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, Arnold Sachs. If you may have been here or listened on Friday, you may have heard Councilman Zine discussing unpaid revenue from parking lot operators who interact with the police commission. Totals $33 million city revenue. It would take 13,000 building and safety violations at $2,500 apiece to equal $33 million. 13,000 violations. How many pages of documentation would it take to type up 13,000 violations at $2,500 each? The point being, how do you accumulate $33 million in debt when you deal with the police commission getting licenses, and yet you nickel and dime the public $2,500 here and there?
Okay, Lois Crum, Clarence Hodges. Elois Crum, Clarence Hodges, Erica Diaz. Erica Diaz.
Mr. President, council members, I'm Erica Diaz, appearing on behalf of JP Morgan Chase Bank. The bank is not the owner of this particular property, merely an interested third party. They recently became aware of the violations that are the subject of the lien imposition. Thank you. And due to the unique nature of the circumstances, being that the property owner is current with their loan, they're in possession of the property to our knowledge, and it is not vacant, and because of the unique terms of the loan note itself, the bank is limited on its ability to enter the property, to make any types of corrections, and can make only very limited maintenance corrections. So because of that, I respectfully request that the council waive the imposition of the 40% administrative penalty. It will greatly reduce the impact on the bank, who ultimately will become responsible for that fees if unpaid by the owner, and it would help the bank be in a better position to handle that situation, and the bank would and has done what it can to encourage the property owner to continue to keep the property in suitable condition and to make these corrections. So again, we ask that you waive the 40% administrative penalty. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Parks.
Thank you. I'd like to continue 1E for 2 weeks.
On 1E, without objection.
That's to June 12th.
Mr. Englander.
Go ahead and continue 1H for 1 week.
1H for 1 week.
It's June 5th.
Without objection. Is there anything left to vote on?
No, Mr. President.
I didn't think so. Okay, now that brings us to item 7. Ms. Perry, you called this special, I believe.
Yes, I did. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to recognize Ernest Kettering and members from the United Teachers Los Angeles just to stand up and to be recognized because this is such a critical issue. Every year I go to as many graduations as I can, and some of the most compelling graduations are those of the adult education programs. And it is a sight to behold to see someone who is an adult, somebody who has family, has children, graduating from the 8th grade or from high school, because they know that by furthering their education, they will be able to improve their lot in life and bring their entire family along with them. That is why I did this resolution, and that is why I think we need to talk about what is at stake here. Now, over the last several years, the Los Angeles Unified School District has seen substantial decreases in state funding, and these decreases are likely to continue to occur. Now, because of these decreases, LAUSD is considering closing adult community schools, affecting more than 255,000 adult education students, including people who have dropped out of high school and are trying to earn their general education diplomas or their GEDs, and students taking English as a second language. Now, the adult education provides courses in citizenship, the GED, occupational programs, basic education, parenting, credit recovery. That's just a sample of some of the things that this adult education can do. According to a 2003 report by the Workforce Literacy Project, Los Angeles has the highest rate of people who are adults who are undereducated, more than any other United States major metropolitan area. Low literacy rates reached 65% on the east side of our city and 84% in South Los Angeles. So I say to you today, we can't afford to lose a program that so many rely on. It will be detrimental not only to those students, but their families, and will impact our entire city. And if we really want to give people a chance to pull themselves along and pull themselves into the middle class, adult education can break the cycle of poverty for people and their families. It's an investment in people and their families. It's also important to note that successful adult education programs are often associated with reductions in overall public spending on health care, on public assistance, and in incarceration. Research has shown that better educated people participate in greater numbers in our civic life, they rely less on social services, and have better employment opportunities and increased income. So I hope all of us can join together to save adult education. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you would allow a number of people put in cards, if you would allow perhaps one or two of the folks to speak on behalf of the group, and they can decide if that would be.
What we'll do is, Ms. Perry, we did hear this, and we had a great discussion in committee, and we were able to pass this out without a hitch. I believe that that's what will occur now, but because I remember some of the faces that I see out there, and their stories were compelling, I'd like for whoever is the quarterback of this group to come up with 5 people that could speak on this subject, and then we'll take it from there. I'm going to ask Mr. Labange to take the chair for a few minutes.
If we could, on those 5 speakers, we'll have 1 minute each, so we get everybody that opportunity and speak your heart. Please address us with your name first.
Okay, my name is Lila Bose. I want to thank all the City Council members for allowing us the opportunity to speak with you. I want to give a special thanks to Council members Ed Reyes, Jan Perry, Herb Weston, Tom Labange, and Jose Weiser for allowing us, the students, to speak about our concerns with your representatives. We come before our elected officials to ask of your support to pass a resolution. We need to demonstrate to the LA Unified School District that they need to reconsider their position to cut adult education. Too many lives and dreams are on the line to make a drastic decision like that. We tend to point the finger at different levels of state legislature for being the ones causing the huge deficit. But we all have to take the responsibility to change that. As responsible citizens and interested parties, we need to question where our taxpaying money is going and be more involved in decision making. It would be detrimental to get rid of adult education. We need educated individuals to help better our society, not destroy it. More than 300,000 students depend on adult education to be a better asset to their families, their lives, their workplace, their community, and society as a whole.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please. Give her a hand for that good speech right there.
Mr. Vice President, members of the Council, thanks very much for allowing us to speak to the resolution. This year, there were over 300,000 students in adult education getting job training, language acquisition, basic skills to help them move into meaningful employment. We're now going to have thousands of returning veterans coming back to Los Angeles that need to repurpose their very high skill set back into a civilian economy. The school board's response to this is to cut the adult ed program, to defund it, to have nothing next year. This is not a time to be cutting job training programs in this city. They're passing the buck to us. They're telling us go talk to the legislature. The legislature passed a law signed by the government which passed authority and responsibility down to the school board. They need to step up, take responsibility for what they've been tasked for. They asked for this job. They need to step up now and take care of it. And where is the mayor on this issue? It's disingenuous for him to maintain he doesn't want to get involved in school board politics. He funded their elections. He's over there all the time. He needs to quit being silent. We need the mayor of this city to stand up together with the city council, stand up for Los Angeles, and help us all move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please identify yourself.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing us to come in. My name is Marianne Reyes. I am a student. I attend Wilson Lincoln Adult School in Lincoln Heights. I just want to say real quick my story and just from the students. We're struggling to stay alive. I got laid off. I had no other chances. So adult school was the only option for me. I ended up in adult school, and it actually helped out with my depression because 3 years ago I got hit by a vehicle, and I didn't think I was going to be able to walk again. But here I am. And not just my story, but so many others, parents trying to teach their children. The violence, we got to understand that if we close adult ed, violence will go up tremendously. So please keep in consideration, and please just keep us in your mind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marianne. Next speaker, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Rodrigo Lopez. I'm representing these beautiful people out here, and the reason why I'm here speaking with you guys is I'm part of the 3% of the dropouts here in Los Angeles, and I was born and raised in Los Angeles. And now I'm part of different clubs at this facility, Evans Adult School. I'm part of the student council. I'm the secretary there. I'm also in part of the shared decision committee. I'm also the Students United, providing the information on what's going on in these type of meetings and take them back to the schools. I want to go ahead and tell you guys that I'm going to go ahead and graduate finally. And I should have graduated in 2004, but I had the second opportunity to go back to adult school, and thanks to that facility, I'm going to graduate on June 14th and walk that stage. So thank you guys.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Next speaker.
How you doing? My name is Sergio. I'm speaking on behalf of East LAOC, Occupational Center over on Marengo. I want to let you guys know you guys are wonderful people. You guys are the ones making the decisions for us, but I want to let you know I'm in there. This school has brought me up. I'm not only branching out now, I'm networking with all the students. They helped me start beginning my business. I've gotten straight A's. I have all my certificates. I'm finishing in June because they were closing down the school. So I had to finish school in 3 months. I had to complete in 3 months what really takes 2 years. And not only that, I had to take my schoolmates with me because we can't move alone. We don't do things alone. We only do it in groups with people. We're as strong as our weakest link. So we made a group and we moved forward. We held pep rallies just to extend time so that we can finish school. So just to let you know, thank you for the rush. I'm finishing school June 22nd, but I'm hoping, because there's a lot of students that haven't finished that didn't know what to do to accomplish what they needed to. Give them a chance. Support us. You guys are wonderful people. That's why you're in that chair. It's motivated me. I've never been here before, and I grew up in LA. I've never been here, and it's wonderful to be here. So please consider us. Thanks.
Thank you very much. The final speaker.
Okay, my name is Renato Lira. I would like to send a message to Richard Arcon and Tony Cardenas. You know that North Valley is almost to close down. So I'm asking everyone to support us on this, to send us a message to the LA district that we can do it. We can continue to save adult education. It's time to get off on the political. Get busy. Save our adult education. It's really important for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And the last speaker.
I'd just like to thank the City Council and individual council members, Alarcon, Garcetti, Weezer, Ed Reyes, and Jan Perry, and others who have been great supporters and leaders in their community in supporting those people who need adult ed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're going to have some speakers here to call on right now. Mr. Garcetti. And before Mr. Garcetti, I want to give a shout out to Evans Adult School, where my Anna Nunez, one of my great employees, goes there. Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you to all our teachers and our students who are here today. You know, in January when folks came and talked to me about this, and I've had probably 5 or 6 meetings with teachers since, I've only 2 times in 10 years gone to the school board meeting to testify. And last time I went, it was to make sure they save adult education. And I went there for this reason. Folks keep saying that LAUSD has to concentrate when they have no funding on the core mission, so they can cut adult ed or early ed and or arts ed out. In this economy, the reason we don't have enough money for our schools is because we don't have enough people working. And the way we get them working again is by making sure that we have adult ed. So if we cut adult ed, we go further down the rabbit hole of a declining economy, and we have less money and we have to cut more. If we save adult ed, people go back to work, we get a better economy, and we'll have money for our schools. So don't do something that seems cheap in the short term, because it's going to be very expensive in the long term. And thank you for bringing up the veterans. I have fellow servicemen who I know who are coming back from Afghanistan right now, struggling to find jobs. We just had Memorial Day yesterday, and talking to many of them. This is the social safety net. Whether it's the seniors who I came with at Glassell Park, where we have and when I was just asked by a reporter, what has the city done to step up on adult ed? We got a free place built for $1 so that LAUSD didn't have to pay for facilities in Glassell Park, where we have seniors who are learning critical life skills, who are keeping their minds alert, who are being able to do things like dance and stay healthy and extend their lives. So we've done our part, and we will continue to do our part. LAUSD needs to do its part and save adult ed. We stand with you, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon.
Council members, I stand in support of the resolution clearly, and I've had the opportunity to express my concerns to the school board early on. The bottom line is that the adult education program is an incredible asset to our community of providing opportunities for people to upgrade their current positions, but also to finish their high school education. One of the things that people think when you talk about adult ed is that these people are in their 30s, 40s years old, but in fact, 88,000 of the students in the adult ed program are currently enrolled in the K through 12 system in public school. And these are people who just want to finish their high school diploma. If we cut adult ed, I want to make it clear, one of the things that school board members are saying is we had to make a choice between the K through 12 system and the adult ed system. But the fact is that 88,000 of the people that use adult education credits, they use them to graduate from the K through 12 system. So it's disingenuous to sell the cuts as a choice between little kids and a choice between adults. It's not. It's about our graduation rates. We have miserable graduation rates at LAUSD. This will have a direct impact on our graduation rates. It will increase our dropout rate, and I don't know how that's good for Los Angeles. Now, everybody recognizes we have a revenue problem. We have it here at the city. We have it at the school district. But we should be working on positive solutions, not negative solutions where we're just throwing people out to fend for themselves in the worst economy that this nation has seen in most of our lifetime. So I'm a strong supporter of adult education. I do have the Pacoima Skills Center and the North Valley Occupational Center, including many adult education programs at some of the high schools in my district. This is penny wise and pound foolish, as was said. We should not be cutting adult education. We need our adults to educate our kids. And those parents who are in this program to do just that will not have the opportunities to be able to teach their kids. One of the critical problems we have in the city of Los Angeles is we have a tremendous immigrant population that is trying to work with their kids on their homework. If they cannot speak English, if they cannot use computers, how are they going to educate their kids? How are they going to work with their kids on their homework? I have many if not thousands, certainly hundreds of people that are using the adult ed program so that they can be better prepared to be parents in the United States of America, so their kids will be successful where they've had major challenges. So this is a bad proposal. I wish we could do something more, and I would certainly support it, but we need to send at least a strong message to LA Unified that this is not good for the city of Los Angeles. It's not good for LA Unified.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. Home of the West Valley Occupation Center, Mr. Dennis Zine.
Oh, thank you. And I was at the West Valley Occupation Center just last week, speaking to the vice principal, said they plan to close that at the end of June. Another location where people learn a trade, and it is imperative that we keep those facilities open. People don't want to go to high school. People don't want to go to middle school. They don't want to go to elementary school, and they got truancy laws. I've never heard of a truancy law where people go to adult education. They go there because they want to go there. They go there because they want to get that education. They go to the trade schools, whether it's West Valley Occupational Center or any of the other institutions, because they want to learn and get a trade and earn a paycheck and support themselves, their families, and be part of the system. That's what they go to school for. So I find it ironic that the district wants to shut them down, wants to displace the students and the teachers, and I don't know what the district is trying to accomplish, because those are the folks that really need the education, that want to be there, that want to pursue so they can better their lives. So I join in this resolution. It's important that we support this. It's important the district finds ways to help adult education and help the occupational centers. Because if you go to the West Valley Occupational Center or the one in Mr. Alarcon's district, some of the others that they have around, these teach people trades so they can go out and get a decent job and earn a decent living. And it's ironic that they're attacking those schools where the adults go. We don't have a truancy problem with you folks. We've never had a truancy problem with adult education. Yet the district wants to cut that and displace all these people who are teachers and students. And it's a sad commentary on our educational system and the LA Unified School District that wants to torture those that want to learn and get into an occupation. So I totally, completely support you, and I hope that our resolution helps somewhat. We don't have the resources to fund it. It's not within our jurisdiction, but you have our vote, you have our support, and if we need to rally with you, we'll be more than happy to do that. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Zion. Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you to Councilmember Perry for bringing this important motion forward. I've strongly been in support of trying to save adult education. I've written letters and called the school board. I've put articles in my own newsletter. And there are a couple of reasons why. One, which Ms. Perry mentioned earlier, when I was in the State Assembly, we researched why we had so many people in jail and why we had such a high recidivism rate. And the most obvious pattern was a high level of illiteracy and undereducation in our jails. The way to break this pattern is partly through adult education. The way to keep it going is to eliminate adult education, which is a terrible idea. If you look at the future of our city economically, there have been studies that show that our jobs are going to require greater and greater skills, and our population is becoming more and more unskilled and undereducated. The one way to have a chance to change this is through adult education. The absolute wrong thing to do for the future of the city of Los Angeles is to eliminate the adult education program. So I think we have to send a message to the school board, don't do it. I know you have a lot of bad choices, but this is the worst one. Don't cut adult education.
Mr. Weezer.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I want to thank you for coming out, to keeping on the pressure, keeping on the rallies that need to happen to get your voices heard at the school district. There's so many things that the adult ed centers do and the community centers, and I want to focus on one demographic. We are a city that is over 40% foreign-born. Many of those people come to the city with not completing a high school education. They come here as laborers, really. But when they look around and they do their jobs and they want to better themselves, they look at our adult ed centers to learn English, to get computer skills, to get some other skills that would allow them to continue the social mobility that this country has promised them. And the adult ed centers make that possible for many, many people. Just a couple of days ago, I was cleaning out my office from some of the boxes I had when I served as a president of the school district. And in that box, I found a picture of two graduates who had sent me the picture when I met them at Evans. And the picture was very interesting because I took a liking and a friendship to these two individuals. You see, this was a son and father who were graduating on the same day from Evans, and it showed that what a school like Adult Ed can do when the father is even going back to learning after he saw that his son had put in the time. The son had gone back to get some additional skills, and the father never completed elementary school in Mexico where he came from. And it was just a beautiful thing to see, and it reminded me of the important work that Adult Ed does. So keep up the fight. You're doing a good fight not only for yourselves, but for future generations of Angelinos. Like everyone said here, it's not the smart thing or the right thing to do at this time.
Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much to all my colleagues, and I was moved to introduce this resolution because of what I've seen and how adult education can change, and I've, as I said, gone to every graduation that I can go to for the last 11 years, and it will bring tears to your eyes to see a grown person making that transition, finally get an 8th grade education or that GED, because you know they're going to take their entire family with them. And I'm really amazed at the turnout today. One of the teachers just told me that they'll be taking 2 weeks off without pay to help this program survive. That's true commitment and true devotion and true leadership. And so I'm pretty confident my colleagues are going to join me in supporting this today, so that we can do what we mean what we say, and give everybody a chance to get out there and have a better life. Thank you.
For those of you that came to committee, could you raise your hand? You remember I told you it was going to be like this. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President, and I want to thank Councilman Perry for asking me to second this motion. When you look at the impact, it's obvious who gets hit the hardest. It's the working poor. It's the people who still have a sense of spirit and hope that something could change, that this country has that ability to inspire one for something better, and that's what you fight for. At the graduations I've been to, especially in Evans Adult School, I try to go almost every year. And the last one I went to, we had it inside the campus, and in one of the buildings there's flags of every country hanging on the ceiling. And you can see how the teachers had dedicated their lives to teach these hardworking folks who, there was a time when they would get there at 5, 6 in the morning just to learn English so they can get to work by 8 a.m. Leave work and come back and finish their classes just so they can get that certificate, just so they can learn that math or be able to communicate in English. And with a great sense of pride as Americans in coming to this country and going through that transition. You know, colleagues, this is a time where when we look at the great universities we have in this region, the USCs, the UCLAs, the Claremonts, the Occidentals, there's so many schools who want to figure out how to penetrate and look at our population so that we can have a greater and much more educated labor force. Well, here's a great opportunity. Why not work with these universities? Why not look at task forces that does basic, and something our city's been trying to do for the past few years? Look at their facilities. Why cannot a major university near adult school invest on that plan? So perhaps they have private money coming in while they are addressing the educational needs of that population, and in the same process, they're creating a pool of candidates for their university, whether it's to finish their BA or their master's, and create these not only tracks in education, but physical plants that are connected to each other, so you can create revenue with this public-private partnership. We need to think creativity in this process. I know we're trying to assess and understand our resource base with our assets in this city. We don't have the skill sets yet to put together these contracts that allows for private-public partnerships, but that principle, that concept could extend to education. If we look at Evans Adult School, it's on Grand and Sunset, or Cesar Chavez, depending where it begins and ends. But that is a prime real estate. If we can look at public-private partnerships where a private entity that wants to deal in biomedical field or other sciences and use that plant to be near their population, they can do that. So with that, I just want to say to you, you have my full support. I think the council is going to support you unanimously. We are in a position to say to you, don't give up. We're behind you, and we have to figure a way to make this better for everyone. Thank you so much for your sacrifices.
Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you very much. I'm going to vote for this resolution, and one thing I want to thank the author, Ms. Perry. I want to thank you very much for including the paragraph that reads, whereas LAUSD officials have stated that they have cut $2 billion in the last 3 years, and yet adult education has survived those $2 billion cuts. So I think we owe a thank you to the school board and the board members who have figured out a way through $2 billion in cuts, still keeping adult ed alive. But at the same time, they're looking forward, as it says here, and currently have $560 million deficit with another $500 million looming next year. The thing is, ladies and gentlemen, that is all coming down from the state of California is not funding school districts throughout the state of California, including LAUSD, anywhere near at the level that they're even mandated by law, by Proposition 40. In addition to that, they're not even funding it beyond that, and they haven't done that in the last 12 years, pretty much. So my point is, yes, the LAUSD has tough decisions to make when you're looming $500+ million 2 years straight in deficits. And in addition to that, it's up to the community colleges to step in and rightfully take their place as well and try to figure out how they can use their state dollars to try to work with our local school districts like LAUSD. Perhaps with their state dollars, they can come to our LAUSD campuses and couple that together and actually continue to have adult education. And some people I see are shaking their heads, but as a former budget chairman of the state of California myself, as we have several former legislators here, the bottom line is the state of California is cutting back on many local government fundings, and the fact that those are facts, they're in writing. If anybody goes online and reads the budget or what have you, you're going to see that they're cutting drastically. And I hope and pray that LAUSD figures out a way to save adult education, yet at the same time they still have over 650,000 young people between the ages of 5 and 18 they have to educate as well. So let's just hope and pray that they figure out a way, like they have in the last few years, to salvage adult education, and hope they continue to do that. Mr. President, don't I still have the floor?
Yes.
What's the decorum in this?
Guys, when you guys spoke, everybody was quiet, gave you respect. You will do the same thing.
So let's hope that LAUSD figures out a way to continue to save adult education. In addition to that, let's also remind our legislators, our governor, and also our community colleges that they have a responsibility too. Thank you very much.
Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I stand in strong support of this resolution. I want to thank Councilmember Perry for bringing it forward. Few things could be more important to our community right now than preserving adult education. A number of years ago, I served on the Burbank School Board. And the proudest moments that I had when I was on that board was handing out diplomas to the graduates of our adult school and hearing the life-changing stories about the experiences that people had gone through and how different their future was going to be because of that adult school. And I was inspired when I went on to the legislature to introduce legislation that would broaden the availability of adult education throughout California through distance learning, through the use of technology, and as a result, I was the Adult Education Legislator of the Year in 2008. So this is something that I'm very, very passionate about, and I think that it's critically important. This cut would be devastating to the hardest working students in LAUSD, the most motivated students in LAUSD, the hardest working faculty in LAUSD, the people who are choosing to change their lives through adult education. So it would be a terrible, terrible mistake to make this cut. But I do want to say also that this is it's a symptom of a broader problem. And that is, as a society, we are not making the commitment that we need to make to public education. When I was growing up here in Los Angeles, we had the finest schools in America. People came to California to study what we were doing right. We were the envy of the rest of the country, our public education system. Now, 30, 40 years later, we're last in class size. We're last in librarian to student ratio. We're last in nurse to student ratio. We are at the bottom in per pupil spending. And it's atrocious and it's disgraceful, and we should be embarrassed as a society that we're not making a greater commitment to public education. Instead, we're outsourcing it, we're privatizing it, we're coming up with silly ideas like handing out vouchers that will bankrupt public education and take and devastate what has made this country different than other countries throughout the world, and that is a free and outstanding public education that should be available to every young person and every adult who chooses it throughout this country. And we've failed in that commitment. We're continuing to fail in that commitment. And Mr. Cardenas is right that as a society, we have to press our legislature to make a new commitment to public education. And we as a society have to stand up and do it too. We have to be, yes, demand reforms, but we also have to be willing to pay the price to educate people in this state, because that's the best investment of money that we can make in our state's future. And we're not making it now. We need to make it. And in the meantime, we need to make sure that these opportunities for adult education remain available. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Those from the Venice Emerson School, raise your hand so I can see you here. Thank you for coming from over there to this event. Look, folks, we have our priorities wrong. We should not be investing in prisons and the war on drugs and building more prisons and prison guards than we do schools. We should be focusing on health care, education, and infrastructure. We should get out of these foreign wars that make no sense, take those monies and reinvest in ourselves. Adult education is key when you're a society that we are, where we need to learn English, we need to get skills, we need to get ourselves focused. That's what our priority should be. But why do we do this war on drugs? We throw people in prison for smoking pot. I'm not saying go smoke pot, but we don't put the alcoholics or the drug, prescription drugs, but yet we have 2.3 million people in prison in the United States of America, more than any other place on earth. In fact, Communist China, which has 1.3 billion people, has less people in prison. So we put kids in prison for smoking pot. Okay? I've toured the prisons, and I've seen these young men, and they're 17, 18, 19 years old. We spend $70 billion on incarceration. We spend $40,000 a year to keep that kid in prison. Wouldn't it be better to spend that $40,000 on education, health care, and infrastructure? We have to change our priorities as a nation instead of wringing our hands. We're losing our middle class. We're becoming the 99%, and then the 1% has everything. So stay strong, stay focused. Thank you for being here this morning. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You got to follow that. Mr. Rosendahl, there, per the screen here, there's an applause tie between you and Mr. Krikorian. With that said, Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Rosenthal, tell us how you truly feel on this issue.
Go.
Ms. Perry, thank you so much for bringing this forward and introducing this motion. You know, when I look at each and every one of you here in council chambers, I think about my family, my aunts and uncles, my parents who immigrated here from Italy and really reaped the benefits of adult school when they first landed here in San Pedro. I've met with numerous students from the Harbor Community Adult School And we actually had staff march with them to address this issue and this cut with LA Unified School District. And just to paint a picture, to send a message to the school board, if adult school is cut, my district will see a loss in ESL classes, we'll see a loss in citizenship classes, we'll see a loss in family literacy programs, we'll see a loss in personal interest classes, extending far beyond my district, from San Pedro, Narbonne High School, Banning High School, Wilmington Senior Center, even the Boys and Girls Club of LA Harbor, which are hosting some of these classes. This is definitely going to take a hit in my district and my adult learners as well. So I stand to support this resolution along with my colleagues, because not only I've been a part of the LA Unified School District family. My wife's a teacher with LA Unified, and my two sisters are teachers with LA Unified. And I know the importance of balancing K through 12 education with adult education. And, you know, I look here, the Horseshoe, and I know we have the support from our former legislators up from Sacramento, you know, looking at Mr. Kokori and Mr. Koretz. And we may even be sending my colleague here, Mr. Alarcon, to Sacramento as well. So we know how important this issue is. Thank you for being here and lending your voice and your passion, your commitment to adult education. So I stand too in favor of this and moving forward. Thank you.
Mr. Alarcon.
I didn't press my button. Did you want me to speak, Mr. President?
No, if you didn't press your button, then we can. I think we can give the people what they came here in hopes of what they would receive. And I do want to say that it was a pleasure. Well, first, let me thank Ms. Perry. I think this is a wonderful idea, something we should do. I want to thank all of you again. It was a pleasure to meet you in my committee, and it was a moving experience for Mr. Labange and myself, and we let you know early on where we were. So let's see if I'm a good gauge of the members of this council. I think it's time to vote on this issue. Why don't we open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote?
15 ayes.
That's approved. Mr. Labange just saying forthwith. All right, now come on now, don't disrupt. We still have work to do. Come on, guys. I know you're excited. And she jumps up and says, sorry. Okay, we're going to now move, and again, congratulations. This was your work. This was you organizing, making phone calls, having a lot of the teachers and professors show up. This shows the power that the people do have. So on a personal note, congratulations to each and every one of you. Now, item 20, Madam Clerk. Item 20, I have two cards on this item. Arno Sachs, John Walsh, HollywoodHighland.org, and Arno Sachs. Arno Sachs. Mr. Parks.
Can I get number 6 reconsidered? I think we have an issue there on the legality on medical marijuana facilities that are deemed illegal, and we're taking a grant to go out and inspect them.
Okay, Mr. Walsh, hold on for 1 second. On item 6, let's have a vote to
Excuse me, Mr. President. Since item number 6 has been reconsidered once before, council needs to vote on whether or not to suspend the rules first.
Okay, so that's the first vote. Okay, let's have a vote to suspend the rules so that we can hear 6 again. So on that item, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, the next vote is on reconsideration?
Yes.
Okay, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Walsh. So we'll hold item 6. Yes, Mr. Englander.
5 and 22 forthwith as well, please.
Okay, what was that? 22
And 5.
And 5 forthwith. Sorry, Mr.
That's
Walsh.
fine. John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Find out about the LAUSD sex scandal right there. We heard about LAUSD just before me. This concerns horse trail improvements. Now, I hate to be an angry white guy and talk about wasting money, but we're talking about number 20. Okay, now, $100,000 for horse trail improvements. Come on. You know, we have people here working here who are taking furlough days. Well, what do we have here? Horse pucky. Now, I'm not in. Before that, you have $114,000 for downtown on ice. Now, I think that's good. I think the city should be proud that in New York, if you want to go in ice skating downtown, you have to sell the family jewels to afford at Rockefeller Center. Here we have a wonderful system that is subsidized where everybody can afford. So what am I saying? Let's keep it on ice and let's keep the horse pucky out of out of our pocketbook. HollywoodHighlands.org. See you later.
Thank you. Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. Arnold Sachs. I commend the use of another source of funding, the Lopez Canyon landfill, for this project. So the Lopez Canyon landfill, the Sunshine Canyon landfill. We have street furniture as a source of revenue. We have AB 1290 as a source of revenue. We have several sources of revenue. We have the bus bench ads as a source of revenue. We have the general account as a source of revenue. It's just interesting. I think the public should be afforded the opportunity to find out how much these balances on all these different sources of revenue add up to before you take that $21,000 away from broadcasting.
Mr. Alarcon.
Council members, as you know, come July 1st, I will be taking huge swaths of Salnatanga and Shadow Hills, and these areas have very large equestrian communities, as well as the remaining portions of my district and Mitch Englander's district as well in the Chatsworth area. The sad truth is that we have approximately 90,000 horses in the city of Los Angeles, and only about 2,800 are registered. The registration money goes into horse trails, and it has created a public safety hazard in many, many locations throughout the city. So this action has multiple reasons for it. Number one, the Lakeview Terrace and Shadow Hills communities were impacted by the Lopez Canyon activities. This is an appropriate expenditure, not to mention that there are numerous horse trails in the adjacent areas of Lopez Canyon, and we need to improve them. Number two, given that I will be adding more horse areas in the 7th Council District, I think it's appropriate for me to do everything we can to improve those horse trails. And number three, and probably most important, we need to reduce the incidence of auto on horse accidents in our communities. And many of these trails have crossings where we create jeopardy for both the drivers of vehicles and the horses and the riders of the horses. So for all those reasons, this is a reasonable thing for me to do as the council member of the 7th Council District, and we have not used literally millions of dollars in Lopez Canyon money to date for in such a way as to have a tremendous amount of impact on the horse trail system. So with that in mind, I ask for your support. Thank you.
Okay. No one in the queue. Let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, now we're going to move to item 17. I have cards. Armagnac Norajanian, Arnold Sachs, Dial House Dude. Come on, I want to see 3 people.
Good afternoon, City Councilman. Good afternoon, fellow Angelenos. Actually, as a liberal Democrat and a human rights advocate, I endorse with Resolution 17. As this Resolution 17 calls for legislation and administrative action with increased funding for McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Grants, fund National Housing Trust Fund, and fund preservation, enhancement, and transformation of rental assistance initiative. Actually, it's very important to increase funding for those programs, was designed to keep Angelenos and Californians, from sliding into homelessness. And actually, we need very much to increase funding, and I ask also city council members to raise taxes against those oil-producing manufacturers, at least $2 per barrel of oil produced in Los Angeles County, in order to afford that increase in funding for both rental assistance programs, and actually also would be able to support increase in educational spending. And actually, but the problem is that if city council members don't want to increase taxes against those oil-producing manufacturers, $2 a barrel of oil, we actually shortchange the city funds, and they actually don't give opportunity for city government to increase funding for those homeless assistance program and rental assistance programs. So that, again, I ask the city council members to raise taxes against oil producing manufacturers, which is supported by 49% of Angelenos.
Thank you. Okay, Dow House Dude, since you're there, come on up.
I missed public comment. I came all the way from Malibu on bus number 2. I was late. This pertains to housing, so I think it is very relevant to what I keep telling City Council. I am now going to ask you, yes or no, would you like to see everybody have a home, a place? Yes or no? Are you listening? Would you like everybody to have a home? 15 eyes? I mean, you're listening to the people, right? We are the people. I do represent the largest segment of the population, the homeless. Because when you rent an apartment, low income or whatever, you're still homeless. You cannot set the rules in that place. You cannot do anything. You're homeless. So let's create a real solution. And I have given you my book. It's just a formula for all of us helping each other and getting the banks out of housing. The banks do not belong in housing. The people do. See, banks do not occupy property other than keep it vacant. People need those vacant houses. And City Hall can make revenue from having the houses full. So, can you please ask me one of these days what the hell I'm talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Arnold Sachs.
Yes, thank you again. Good afternoon, Arnold Sachs. Just a curious side note here. I was going through, looking at some information, and on the 23rd of May, you had an item on your agenda where the City of Los Angeles Harbor Department, the LAHD, was involved in some action that you took. And on April 10th of 2012, the Los Angeles Housing Department, the LAHD, was involved in some action that you took. And this item involves the LAHD. Now, knowing how open and transparent the City Council is in and of itself, and hearing some of the information that's come across regarding funding that has been found for the parking, one-time parking revenue, the $32 million that given or taken that Councilman Zine was talking about. When you discuss the LAHD, how can you be possibly sure that the public knows which LAHD you're talking about?
Thank you. Okay, on this item, let's open the roll. I did not get it, but I trust you. So, Michael, come forward. Madam Clerk, disregard. Michael?
Okay, I've got a question on how this money is being spent, or you're putting a resolution in. We've got a property in CD14 that's owned by the City Alley Housing that's been vacant for about 5 or 6 years. I've asked Councilman Huizar's office to look into it, and I've never gotten a response on what they're doing with the property. It's vacant.
Let's stick to this
in
item,
CD14
Michael.
in El Sereno.
Let's stick to this item, Michael.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're putting resolutions in, but for what? If we don't know how or where it's going, what is it helping? If we can't get information on property that's out there, then maybe we can put a family into it. Maybe we can put a homeless person in it, a homeless family in it. But apparently we're just worried about getting resolutions or all kinds of things that really don't affect the people in general. The people that really need it can't get any help. It's just, I don't know, tooting your horn for sometimes is all I feel it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on this item, Mr. Alarcon.
Council members, this is relative to resolutions in support of some federal funds. One is relative to the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Grants, $1.9 billion, so that you know what items are before us, and then also another $1 billion for the National Housing Trust Fund. Mr. President, I'd like to bifurcate the question on these resolutions because there is one of the resolutions that I cannot support, and that's relative to the Petra program, which I oppose at this point without further consideration. So there are 3 resolutions being proposed, and I want to oppose the Petra program, which has to do with privatizing the housing authority projects. And it's not that I can't support it, it's that it hasn't been fully vetted. And so at this point, I cannot support it without more information.
Okay, Mr. City Attorney, what action must this council take in order to bifurcate this issue?
The council member makes a motion to bifurcate, which needs to be seconded.
Okay, he made the motion, I second.
So then vote on the motion to bifurcate. If that passes, then vote on them separately.
Okay.
I really wanted, the motion was addressing only the Petra program, so if we bifurcate that and take a separate vote on that, everything else is fine.
Okay, so on the question of bifurcation, let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, now let's vote on the individual items. How should we do this? Which one comes first, Mr. City Attorney or Madam Clerk?
The matter that Mr. Alarcon wanted to separate out.
Okay,
Should be voted on first.
Okay, so what is that again? That's the Petra, what?
Petra, the Preservation, Enhancement, and Transformation of Rental Assistance Initiative.
Okay, on that item, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes, 1 no.
Okay, now on the other item, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. I now intend on moving to in fact, Mr. Parks, are you ready on item 6? We'll go to item 6.
Okay. Thank you very much. I wanted to bring this issue up is that initially in reading it, it reflected that the committee made no recommendations. Then reflecting on the fact that the last time the city attorney was here, she reflected that currently under our ordinance, none of these dispensaries are legal, yet we're allowing LAPD to accept a subcontract to inspect marijuana dispensaries, which appears that we're going in opposite directions and inconsistent with what the city attorney told us. And so that's why I wanted to bring it up and see whether we need to have this document reviewed by the city attorney for advice as to the larger ordinance that they're proposing, or reflect at least on the lack of consistency of moving on, which is a very small grant, but inconsistent with what has been declared as each and every dispensary currently is viewed as being an illegal location, and would we want our officers inspecting an illegal location?
Mr. Zine.
Thank you. And we had some issues with this in committee, and this morning I received from the department a copy of the Department of Health and Human Services report on this. It is a grant to Chabad, $124,341, and I spoke to the commander from the Los Angeles Police Department regarding this. The marijuana part is not going to be a part of it. It's going to be centered on alcohol use at high schools, alcohol use at football parties at high schools, etc. And the $24,000 is going to be given to the West Valley of the Los Angeles Police Department. The issue regarding the marijuana was part of that initial, but the department is not going to be utilizing that particular program since Mr. Parks is correct on the issue. So it's all going to be centered on alcohol and the teen use of alcohol and trying to prevent that. So it'll be overtime that will be granted to officers at the West Valley from this grant that was secured by the Department of Health and Human Services. I hope that answers the question, but we had questions in committee. The commander was here this morning with the captain of West Valley to answer questions, and after we saw the document, then we decided that it would be acceptable to receive this and to move forward with it, accept the money, and to use that for the police department of West Valley to do the enforcement, but basically alcohol-type activities, not marijuana. Thank you.
Mr. Labange.
Fox 11 News Los Angeles did a very tough story about a craze going on where they take air bottles to parties and they inhale air bottles of helium or some other issue. Mr. Zine, since you're the champion of this, is it just going to be for what issue? Because there's a rage out there that I'm very far away from, but at least on Fox News they covered it. Are you familiar with that at all, Dennis? At high school parties where they take air bottles and they ingest the air bottles and
there's all types of substance that the youth of our community gets high on, and what this is basically designed for is to counter any of those types of programs, any of those types of illegal activities with the resources that the department doesn't currently have. So
Does
what's going to do?
anybody know about air bottles?
I don't know that in particular,
Mr.
but I know there's a lot
Labange,
of substance that
stay
they
on
get
this
high on. Mr. Joey, maybe you know about
So
it.
we can move on.
What's your generation?
I just hope they cover this stuff because it's sad to see what happened to the young people on the Fox report.
Maybe we should ask for a report back on that, and I'm serious, Tom, when I say that.
Thank you, Mr. President. That'd be great.
Mr. Alarcon.
Yes, I too oppose air bottles. Mr. President, I'd like to ask for the city attorney on the issue, the way that this item is on the agenda is nothing like what we're voting on, and I have no problem with the issue. I think it's a good that was a good explanation, Mr. Zine. I just have a problem with the way that it is on our agenda as allowing LAPD to conduct compliance checks of retail establishments and marijuana dispensaries. And so I think it may be, I don't know, I wanted to ask...
Let's ask our able city attorney for a response.
I was just talking to Deborah Gonzalez from our office, and she said that the agenda description really doesn't adequately characterize the actual item. The grant does not really deal with marijuana dispensaries.
Say it as part of the discussion, but the department is not going to be. What the commander told me.
Description.
Well, I understand that, and that originally somehow was in there, and I asked about that, and I was told they're not going to do it. So we can. I discussed it with Mr. Englander, the chair. We can send it back to committee to get further clarification.
Well, I don't think you have to do that. We just have to. If we continue.
So basically, the question is, can we vote on this, Mr. City Attorney?
I believe council can vote on this.
Okay.
Okay.
He says so.
And we could put a restriction that it is not to be utilized.
That's not the problem.
Okay.
No problem.
No, Zion, I think you're okay.
All right.
Mr. Parks?
He says I can vote on it, I'll vote on it.
I just have a concern is that, only material we have is what is before us. Mr. Zion's the only one that's got privy to a conversation with the captain, and so none of us can basically understand what the ramifications are. I would suggest that it go back to committee so they can come back and give us what the analysis should be. Maybe they'll take a position on it at that time, and we'll have the document back. It's not a lot of money, but on the other hand, I don't know how we jump from marijuana dispensaries and all of a sudden they disappear, and yet we know they're all illegal. So,
okay. Thank you for that comment. Okay, members, on this item, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes, 2 noes.
Okay, thank you. That brings us now to item 20. Can I verify that item 24 was sent forth with item 24?
Okay, that will go forthwith.
Thank you. And on that, the item 6, we did have a public comment card for Mr. Sachs, but Mr. Sachs' time has expired. So we're going to now go to, if Mr. Koretz is ready, item 23, and I, of the impression that we can do this in public. It will not be going to closed session, so I'll leave that to the discretion of the council member of the district. So, Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. As many of you may remember, this synagogue was approved in June 2009 after my predecessor 245 the project to council. A small group of neighbors filed a lawsuit, which they lost in the trial court. The plaintiffs then appealed the decision and partially succeeded on appeal. I introduced the motion before us today on the advice of the City Attorney's Office, which has recommended that we comply with the order of the appeals court by setting aside the Council's prior approval of this project. We then need to remand the project to Plum for further action. So for today, I urge your approval of the proposed motion, setting aside the earlier approvals and remanding the matter back to Plum.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz. Okay, we have some public comment speakers on this. John Walsh, HollywoodHighland.org. Rabbi Aaron Abin. Is this Elke Abin? Please come forward.
Excuse me, Mr. President, real quick. There is one correction to be made to the motion on the agenda. Section A should state, set aside the June 19th, 2009 action of council.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Incidentally, my great-grandfather's name was Leo Berger, came from Hungary, and we always speak up for any house of worship or any place that Jews congregate. And as you know, over at MTA, they're trying to they're putting Jewish children in danger of being gassed at Beverly Hills High School, and they're saying, oh, they're rich Jews, as if there's any difference. HollywoodHighlands.org. Thank you.
Okay, Rabbi.
Good afternoon. My name is Rabbi Aaron Albin. I'm here for our project, a new Chabad house in Sherman Oaks, adjacent to the Orange bus line. Initially, our project was approved by the zoning administrator. The City Council modified that approval, and building permits were issued by the city. We have been building over the last 18 months. The appellate court ruled that the findings this council made in support of your decision needs to be fixed. We look forward to this council doing so expeditiously. This project has wide community support, and we thank you for your support.
Thank you. Elke Abin, followed by David Harrison, followed by, I think, Mickey Janal. Please go forward. I'd like to see the other two names that I just called in the interest of time. Go ahead.
My name is Elke Abend, and I live at 5246 Ethel Avenue. I would like to thank the City Council for fixing the procedural error with the Chabad Synagogue project. We hope you can do this in an expeditious manner. We are very excited for the new synagogue, which has community-wide support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Harrison.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the City Council. I'm here with my wife, Deborah Harrison. Last year, we moved right across the street from the project, and we're very excited that we hope the council would approve this project and move as quickly as possible. When I was sitting here earlier this morning, I heard the debate about adult education, and it was very touching. And I was thinking, well, you know, what Chabad does is education in terms of classes, 2 adults, 2 children on a regular basis. But what really touched a nerve with me is besides that, Chabad every Friday will go to assisted care facility and visit the people there and bring children to give them some joy. What leaves a lasting impression with me is approximately a year ago how Chabad wanted to make care packages, meals for the needy. And they didn't have enough room, obviously, in their refrigerator. So they converted a trailer at the time and just made it into one big refrigerator. And they gave out thousands of care packages to the needy, which is very touching. So I really think Chabad is synonymous with education and with giving back to society. In addition, creating this structure, this project, will improve the surroundings of the neighborhood from an aesthetic perspective. So again, thank you for your time, and I hope you move this along as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Mickey Janal, followed by Noah Weiss and Ben Napopkin. And I apologize if I didn't pronounce your name correctly. Yes, sir.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. President. I am Mickey Janal. I live in Council District 2, Valley Glen, and worship at Chabad of North Hollywood. I support the motion to the letter, but I want to enlighten you. 200 of us were praying Saturday morning and could see 2 West Chandler litigants escorting an LA Times reporter and photographer around our synagogue. They interviewed and took pictures of families on their way to and from the many synagogues in the neighborhood. No respect for the day of rest. This abomination disturbed me. I could not focus on praying for my son who died of cancer last year. I felt fear, much the same way my father in Poland felt fear practicing his faith. First a few people in a newspaper, then the community, and then the Nazis. But this abomination by a wicked few served a purpose. You see, we can't explain why bad things happen, but they are revealed to us at the appropriate time. And for me, this became the time to come before you. You discuss policy and procedure, and we, the public, hope to enlighten you. I am here to show you that there is an evil undertone here. I'm here to tell you recently at a Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association on September 21st, 2011, when the Chabad matter was brought up, a member of the audience said, "Just have them go away." And now this past Saturday, a wanton disregard. You need to be enlightened by what they really want. And so I appeal to you to consider my brief comment and follow and maintain your focus on carrying through this motion to the letter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Noel?
Council members, I'm here on behalf of the community, not a small part of the community, a significant part of the community. We're not talking here, what we are talking about is getting the right result for the right reason in the right way. The issue is, and actually right now, welcome to the intersection where principle meets reality, because the principle is what the law says. What the law says is, and what the court said, when this project was railroaded through in violation of the city's own laws, the Court of Appeal said, and I quote, "In approving the CUP as well as the variance, the City Council did not address the evidence before the zoning administrator or her findings regarding the size of the proposed building relative to homes in the neighborhood." That's the issue. It's a land use issue. This isn't a religious issue. It's a land use issue. And it's also an issue where the City of Los Angeles must follow its rules. We have to take this out of politics. The rules say that the zoning administrator makes the decision, not the City Council. And this idea of special interest coming in here and railroading the system and gaming the system and walking through the raindrops, that's where we're at the moment. Mr. Koretz's motion should say, if it wants to follow what the Superior Court said, we're not talking about the Court of Appeal now, we're talking about the Superior Court, a directive to the City of LA. What the Superior Court said was, and I quote, "Respondent City of LA is ordered to set aside the entitlements," which it will do today. Number two, to basically follow follow the law, which mandates that all new evidence must be presented to the zoning administrator for consideration before it comes back to council. That preserves the independence and the integrity of the planning department. So the real issue here is not deferring to Mr. Koretz because it's in his district. The issue is, do we respect, preserve, protect the independence and the integrity of the planning department, or do we throw it out so that a special interest can basically get their way? That's the issue.
Thank you. Thank you. Ben, followed by, I think it's D. Tungravet.
Yes, good morning.
Followed by Jeff Gantman.
Yes.
Good morning, Ben.
Yes, good morning. I live next from that Chabad building. City of Sherman Oaks is beautiful, and Chandler Boulevard is beautiful, and the Chabad tried to build a building. It's 15,000 or 12,000, whatever there. It's a big, big building with no parking. A lot of neighbors that area is angered and upset because that area is beautiful. And I believe the building there is not it's not right. It's too large, it's too big. And stand on the building of the area, an R1 zone residential area. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, sir. So if I can see D, Jeff Gantman, Scott Zubak, or Zebak. Yes.
Good morning, Councilman, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dee Chankawet. I have been living in the area across from Chabad for 20 years. It is very nice neighborhood and it is residential area only. But now Chabad would like to build a building. We have no objection at all, but the building is too big. It's not appropriate for the area. As Mr. Koretz said that just a few of us, it's not true. It's over 100 or 200 residential area oppose this project. And the Chabad have been keep on building, challenging the law without the right permit. I urge you gentlemen to reconsider this project. and bring this to the right proper zoning. Thank you.
No, thank you. Jeff Gantman, Scott Zubak, if you would come. That's why I ask people to come in the interest of time if I can get one behind the other. Okay.
Good morning,
Jeff.
Council. Thank you very much for taking the time to hear this matter. It's interesting to keep framing this as a religious issue. Those of us that are opposed, which number in the hundreds, Mr. Koretz, not several. The issue here is not framing this as religious. I'm Jewish. Many of the people who are against this particular project, we're talking about a building. We're talking about a building that was rammed through here. The issue isn't Chabad. Chabad has been here for 30 years. They'll be here for another 30. That's not the issue. I want you all to look at the record. It's very important you look at the record here. Because to stand here and can continue to obfuscate and make these smokescreen arguments is missing the point. We look to you people to govern our city, not to futz around, as they say in Yiddish, and screw around because you have political connections with a lobbyist. And I'm sick and tired of it. I've wasted 4 years of my life coming down here, and now I know what's going to happen. This motion's going to go through. It's going to go to Plum. But you know what? It doesn't go to Plum. It goes to Mrs. Green or back to the zoning administrator. That's what the law says. And if you go into closed session and you get the wrong advice, you call me, because I'll give you the right advice. And it's not religious, and I'm sick and tired of it. I don't want to have to defend that or protest too much, but it's not. It's disgusting and disingenuous for people to stand here and say that. I want you to look at the record and understand where we're coming from. The building is too large. It's 12,000 square feet on 6,000 square feet. Mr. Resnick running around here with a map trying to show you where... They stood before you and told you they had entitlements they didn't have. They didn't have parking in 2009. They didn't have that agreement. They don't even have the revocable permit in front of that property. I don't want to keep arguing the same things. There's right and there's wrong. There's truth and there's facts. And then there's nonsense. I'm over here. Which side are you on? Do your jobs. That's all we're asking. Please. We just want the building scaled down, okay?
Thank you. Scott.
Good morning. As you are all aware, obviously, the city lost a lawsuit over the Chabad North Hollywood project. The court determined that the city council abused its discretion and unlawfully approved a structure that had not previously been vetted by the zoning administrator. The developer and the lobbyists for this project continue to try and deflect attention away from the facts in this case by suggesting that this entire matter can be solved by simply inserting findings into the record. And this is not going to be an acceptable solution. As a result of our victory in the appellate court, a published case, not only do we get a do-over with the city council to correct what transpired in this chamber in June of 2009, but we also get a do-over for the zoning administrator to consider the evidence as well. I hope that this council will show courage and integrity in the face of special interest by following the law and sending this project back to the zoning administrator. Thank you.
Okay. With that said, let's, on the request, or Mr. Koretz, do you want to close this out? Give us your final instructions.
I'd just say I urge your approval of the proposed motion, setting aside the earlier approvals and remanding the matter back to Plum at the advice of our city attorney.
Okay, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, Madam Clerk, where does that bring us now?
And just for the record, Mr. President, for item 21, no action is necessary.
Okay, then none will be taken. So, where are we?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
They're posted and referred.
The desk is clear.
Announcements? Mr. Labange, at your seat. At your seat. Channel 35 has to jump all over the horseshoe looking for you. Announcements, Mr. Labange, in his own seat.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just wanted to say yesterday was a great day. Memorial Day out at Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills, as well as the Los Angeles National Cemetery. Our mayor was at both locations. Councilwoman Perry came to Hollywood Hills and spoke eloquently, as well as our controller, Whitney Gruhl. And it was a great day to remember those who gave the ultimate price to this country. I just wanted to recognize Memorial Day again. Thank you.
As we should. Announcements, members. Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you to all Angelinos across the city of Los Angeles. Stay tuned. Tomorrow, the arrival of the USS Iowa. Stay close to your televisions. You'll be seeing the coverage on all channels, I'm sure. So it's an exciting time for the city. The USS Iowa will be arriving tomorrow. Expected time of arrival about 6 in the morning. If you guys are up that early.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino. Mr. Cardenas.
Yeah, an announcement. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank the people of California, especially Angelinos, seem to be responding. We're clipping at a little bit faster rate on the California Pet Lovers license plate. I just want to take the opportunity to remind everybody in California that 1 million dogs and cats every year make it into shelters throughout the state, and only half of them make it out alive. And the way in which we can get that number down, and hopefully down to zero someday, of the number of cats and dogs that are euthanized, is to make sure that we have a true comprehensive spay and neuter program throughout the state and in every city and county. So by buying the Pet Lovers license plate, $40 will go to the spay and neuter programs, which will create permanent funding for spay and neuter programs. And I want to say, since we announced last week, another 150 or so license plates were purchased, so we're only down to another 2,259 license plates that need to be purchased so they can run the 7,500 production for the Pet Lovers license plate. Again, we have to get to 7,500 so that the license plates can start being made, and then that money is going to go to spay and neutering. So I want to thank everybody for picking up the pace, but we still have a ways to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas, for keeping that dream moving forward. Announcements. Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask everyone in the council chamber to please rise for adjourning motions. Adjourning motions, everybody rise. Adjourning motions, please. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. Today we adjourn in memory of Silveria Ramos. Ms. Ramos passed away recently after a short illness. Ms. Ramos is the mother of Susana Araguin, one of our most loyal and hardworking residents of Pico Union. I mention her daughter because this was beyond simply a mother-daughter relationship. This is a true partnership to make their community a better place. Susana has been involved in her neighborhood for close to 40 years, fighting blight and crime. Her partner in this effort was her mother. During town hall meetings, Ms. Ramos would help with registration. During neighborhood cleanups, Ms. Ramos would be responsible for distributing water to volunteers. And during Susana's most difficult moments of activism, Ms. Ramos was her closest advisor. In her later years, Ms. Ramos helped organize the Club de Alegría, the Club of Happiness, at Normandy Recreation Center. And as the name suggests, these were the happiest moments of community activism. We will miss Ms. Ramos. We'll continue to support Susana Araguin in the name of her mother. May she rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Any other adjourning motions? Seeing none, members, this council meeting is adjourned.